all, thanks a lot, all the, alumni, Dhwani, Adesh, Kalpam, Ria, Manal, Priyans, all of you. This is a crazy time to connect with you actually. And it is only and only the love and respect that you have for the university that you have joined. So we are only and only proud of you. So thanks a lot for
Thank you,
joining.
sir.
And without wasting any time, I welcome all of you on behalf of Navratna University. And now I request Nilay sir to welcome all of you.
So welcome all of you. Welcome to your university, Navratna University. And I know all of you would like to come back in some way or the other and guide students, guide your juniors. In fact, just before we started, we had a very nice brief discussion where somebody said, I think Kalpam said, it's the duty of the alumni. I think it's a wonderful approach to take, a wonderful attitude also, which all of you had. You guys are the core of the university, actually. The alumni make the university. It's just like there's a saying, the university or the institution makes the alumni, and the alumni makes the university. It's that way. So I'm really grateful to all of you for having spent so much of your time at very odd hours from all over the world to talk to our students. Core engineering today, it's quite different from the time you studied here. Core engineering was very attractive in those days. The manufacturing was going very strong in India in those days. However, core engineering has kind of taken a slight beating for some time. We are sure there will be a revival in maybe a year, maybe a couple of years. But there will definitely be a revival, especially in manufacturing. And the three core engineering disciplines will again see a major growth happening. So we are in the process. We have already revised our curriculum. There are many things which we're doing. We have tied up with the Thomas J. Watson School of Engineering at the State University of New York at Binghamton, and Sunny Binghamton. And this is for engineering, primarily again, core engineering. So we're going to have a lot of programs with them, exchange programs and research programs and all that together. So I'm looking forward to you people also collaborating with us and telling us and our students, what are the latest developments happening there in your part of the world, and how they can improve, how our students can improve, and how the program can improve. You can help out in so many ways. You can deliver some talks, maybe. You can even help us in various, guest sessions. You can mentor some of these juniors who are there with you. You can even remotely, it's fine. You can remotely mentor some juniors. We can assign them to you, and you can guide them and kind of, develop them, because ultimately it is your university. So if you guys do well, which you are doing well, and we're so proud of you, everybody else, the whole university will benefit a lot. So thank you so much once again, and I look forward to your interactions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Provost sir. Now, I request, Rivan Jadhav, the final year mechanical engineering student to take over, and he is going to moderate the session. So, Rivan, are you there?
Ravi, can you take some pictures
Yeah, sure, sure.
right now so
Yeah,
we
sure,
can,
sure.
yeah. Who's
Rivan,
moderating?
sir, Rivan Jadhav. He's a final year mechanical engineering
Okay.
student. Yep. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Rivan, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you can begin now.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Rivan Jadhav. I'm final year mechanical engineering student, and I'll be the moderator for this session. If you guys have any doubt in between the session, please raise your hand, and we can pause the session and answer a few questions. So, as the I welcome the alumni. I welcome Provost sir and all the students and teachers over here. As the alumni are very own, so I would request each alumni to introduce or give a brief introduction about themselves, starting from Adesh.
Yeah. So, hello, I'm Adesh. I did my bachelor's in electrical electronics at Navratna University, and now I'm completed my master's this last August in embedded systems from TU Eindhoven in Netherlands.
Mm.
And now I started working in a company called Viscon Group as a development engineer. So yeah.
Dhwani Patel, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks. So again, I'm Dhwani Patel. I did my mechanical from Navratna University and passed out in 2016 and went right straight to Windsor University here for masters. Finished by 2018, and luckily I landed a job really faster. So I've been working since then with some jump here and there, but I worked in a core mechanical engineering where we were producing engine for I don't know from really for a really good cars, and then I moved to project management, and currently I'm working as a project coordinator right under project manager and handling luckily a huge team here in Canada, and it's a telecommunication industry, so which is like really far from my core study, actually, even bachelor or masters. But to be told, the what I learned in my bachelor, that's coming handy right now, even in telecommunication as a project coordinator. So thank you, Navrishna, for that. And all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dhwani. Next, we have Kalpam Shah, who's also from Canada.
Yeah, thank you, Divan, and good morning, everyone. Myself, Kalpam. I did my bachelor's in civil engineering back in Navratna University. Then I moved to Canada in 2019. I did my postgrad in supply chain and business operation, global. And then eventually, like at the day of my final exam, I got a job. As soon as I was done with my exam, I had an offer for my job. I got a job in one of the core company of logistics in Canada as a logistic and dispatch solution analyst, where we provide a solution of logistic to key market players of automobiles and e-commerce in Canada and US. So basically, that's my job profile, and life is going good, great. So yeah, Canada is good for everyone, and it's very much welcoming to come.
Thank you, Kalpam. We welcome you. Next, Manal Sheth, who's from Germany.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to everyone in India, actually. Yeah. So this is Manal Sheth, and I was in mechanical engineering batch number 2, actually, and I was pass out of 2017. Oh yeah, 4 years back, right? Yeah. And I started my masters in 2018 over here, and I was supposed to be done with my masters by the last year, but pandemic didn't allow. So I'm still pursuing my thesis and internship right now. So yes, and I'm working with Continental right now in the field of architecture and software development for ADAS systems. So yes.
Thank you, Manal. Next, we have Priyansh Pathak, who's from USA.
Thank you, Rizwan. Good afternoon, all. This is Priyansh Pathak. I did my bachelor's in electrical and electronics, and I was in the second batch. I completed my bachelor's in 2017. I started my master's in the year 2018 and got done with it in 2020 last year. I did it from University of Michigan, and my master's was in VLS and embedded structures. Now I'm working as an research assistant and a PhD candidate at New York University, and my research topic, the thesis topic, is quantum computing.
Next, Riya Patel.
Thanks, Rivan. My name is Ria, and I did my bachelor's in civil engineering from Navratna University in 2016, and I did my master's in structural engineering as my major from University of Maryland, College Park. I graduated in 2019, and since then I have been working as a structural designer in a company, and it has been like 1.5 years. Yeah.
Thank you, Ria. So this is our panel for today. And without wasting a lot of time, let's dive into the questions that we've received over the few days. So the topic would be education and career opportunities abroad. And we'll be having a discussion and comparing countries, different countries, and how the different trends change from country to country. So starting with the first question, it would be, why did you choose this particular country to study? What all did you consider in making this decision? And how is it turning out to be? So let's start with Dhwani.
Hi, it's a little bit funny story. So when we were applying, I'm from the first batch. Trump was in a queue to be a president in USA. So I pretty much I backed out. So no, just kidding. But yeah, I had an option of USA, really good university, and Canada. But other than, I also wanted to make sure that I chose Canada because I had a doubt. What if I like the country so much, or after 2 or 3 years of studying to whichever country, and I want to stay there, or I want to explore more, or I wanted something in a way that I can, enter the explore other world easily. So kind of a key to the world after the studying, and I knew that Canada is a multicultural country, and also it's financially, what's it, cheaper than USA, because it's pretty much 50-55 rupees per a CAD, opposed to Ria, I guess it's 60 or 70 rupees for a USD, right?
I think it's around 72, 73. Yeah, currently.
Yeah, so it's a huge difference, and I also had to check my education loan and everything, like all prospect, and I wanted to keep it as safe as much as I could, so I chose Canada.
Okay, so you chose Canada for like going out and exploring more countries after your graduation, and it was for like it was cheaper as compared to the US.
Yes, I
So
mean,
how does it?
yeah, please go ahead,
So
go ahead.
yeah, so how does it differ in Netherlands, Adesh? Uh, or did you consider the same factors?
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
Dhwani. Apparently, she went on mute.
No, I think
Adesh is asking
no,
you.
Adesh. He is asking you that Dhwani
Yeah.
considered these are the points while going to Canada. What are the points you considered while choosing the Netherlands?
Oh, I guess I had a breakdown in the voice. So yeah.
No.
So
Same here, actually.
basically, for me, I had this thing that I had this agenda that I don't have to struggle when I go to a new country because I'm going out of India because I'm not happy here. So for that, I had like 3 pointers to as a checklist for myself. First of all, the type of university I go, the research output should be very high. So I had I had plans in my mind that I wanted to continue into the field of electronics. So I was sure that I wanted to do embedded systems. That was my surety from my side. After that, I see the research output of a particular university, that where how is the university, and I basically the best way to judge is you see the on the website it's readily available in what field they are working and what field they are active in, and secondly you can even refer to some rankings, but don't go on the rankings by one or two rankings. But I would say top 200 universities are normally good universities in the world because they are the top 200. So you really don't have to go for like, oh, this is the rank one, this is the rank two, so I go for rank one. It's not like that. just the best 200, and then you see who has a better research output for you, because sometimes the university might have a better research in AI, but it won't be doing better in case of mechanical. But if you want to do mechanical, then that is not the university for you. So those like are the parameters. So I had that one parameter first. After that, because I wanted to work here and settle down somewhere here, so you have to always see the job opportunities and how the job market is in the particular country. And third is obviously the political condition of the country, because then it shouldn't happen that, okay, you go there, you study, then you say, okay, sorry, you can't work here because you are an international. So like those are the three parameters I had for myself. And yeah, so that is how I selected Netherlands, because Netherlands has a very good job market. Basically, there are more jobs than people here. Then I was doing embedded systems and electronics, and the research of the country is pretty good because they are always up to the trend. And my university is also very good. They are basically one of the pioneers in embedded systems, so that is really good for them. And that is why I selected the university. And political condition is they are always immigrant friendly. So yeah, that is how I chose Netherlands.
Okay, thank you, Adish. Ria, as Dhwani mentioned that she considered Canada over USA because of the like priority over Trump presidency. So did you consider that as well, or was it a gamble on selecting that?
Actually, I applied to like both the places. I applied for some universities in Canada as well as USA. But when I got the admit, I compared like according to my field, like which university had like good coursework, and I selected based on that. And when I was planning, actually, I wasn't sure that I want to settle down. I was thinking I'll just study and work for a few years and eventually come back to India. So I think at that point I was okay with coming to US. Yeah, but I agree with Dhwani. The scenario is like a bit difficult these days here. Yeah.
You can always compare.
Further,
Yeah.
further, Manal, as we know that Germany is a hub for engineers. So was it that sole reason you selected Germany, or was it any minute details that we might have missed?
Okay, first of all, please don't believe all these things. Germany is not hub for engineers. Trust me, it's not. Okay. I would say Germany is a hub for research. And that's not only Germany, it's this culture is being there for across the Europe right now. And the biggest reason to choose European education would be research. Okay. So anyone who wants to come do masters and just join an industry and work, please don't consider European education. Okay, because it will take a lot of time over here to finish things. It will take a lot of time to do your thesis, because you won't be satisfied with the thesis with the topic what you are doing with the field which you are working. Your professor won't be satisfied, and just to make all the balance everything out, it takes time over here. So if you have time, then only come. Now I'll come to my points which I've considered while applying for Germany, and that was like I am a very big automobile enthusiast. I'm like one of the very big automobile enthusiasts. So I wanted to do research. I wanted to study more. So I didn't plan as such of leaving India and coming abroad for education. That was not planned. But yes, job market was down in India at that time, and the job which I got, I was not happy with it. So I really wanted to learn more. I really wanted to do research more. So yeah, that was one of the point why I chose like Germany basically. And second point to choose Germany was, of course, I wanted to go in automobile, and automobile market or automobile industry of Germany is very widely known. But the thing is, the research for which Germany was very widely known is outdated now. That is combustion engine. We are not working anymore in combustion engine. So forget about that. We need to move on from combustion engine. We need to proceed towards clean energy. So that is the case. And that's why I'm saying Germany is not the hub for engineering anymore. So keep in mind that. And third reason is, in Germany, at least, we don't have tuition fees. So it's actually very much cheaper over here to study, but to live and living expense and everything, it makes up. So you need somewhere around medium money to study over here. Like you can manage your all the finance and everything along with the studies. You can work. There is no limit on work as well. You can work and you can just live your life. So these are the three reasons why I chose Germany. One, flexibility with money and tuition fees. Second was research opportunities, and third, because I'm an automobile enthusiast. That's all.
Just I want to come in. I think Manal, if I'm not wrong, you learned German. I think before going for a master's.
Yes.
So, how was that experience of learning German? As a language, and did it help you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Learning a new language is always fun. That's the very first point. So learn, even if you don't need a language, just learn it, I would say. So learning a language is always fun. That is one thing. Second, this is what I have learned in this 2 years after coming to Germany. And this is something which I feel is lacking very much in India as well. And that is, these people are really, really, really proud of their own language. And and that's why it helps a lot to learn their own language when you are staying in the country. So it doesn't matter. Like my education, I have a partial, like I'm studying in a partial course, so I have courses in both the languages, in German as well and in English as well. Though I'm like done with the courses and everything, but I had courses in both the languages. But that is just one aspect. Like studying is one aspect, but just to live over here, just to stay over here, and just to explore the country, if you know the language, then it's much better to mingle with people. And it's not that Germans don't understand English. They do understand English. At least like most of the youth understand English. Even most of the old people understand English. That's not an issue. But when you talk to them in their own language, there's a small smile that comes on their faces, and it makes you happy as well. So it's always better to learn new culture and new language. That's all.
So, Kalpam, as you said, you took classes in German as well. So, is it any different from learning in English? Because you just learned German, and taking classes in German would be like, was it difficult for you?
Manal, I guess.
Yeah,
Manal,
exactly.
I didn't know the alphabets of German.
I think this question is for Manal. I think Rivan.
Yeah.
You can ask the question.
I was
a fresh question to Kalpam, but
yeah.
I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I understood.
I was saying that you took classes in German as well. So was it difficult learning in German as compared to learning in English? Because English we've been learning through like when we were like small. German was something that you learned recently, and taking classes in German, was it difficult understanding or grasping things?
No, obviously it is difficult thing. You cannot learn a language in 2 years, and after coming over here, like you cannot explore. You would not have explored that much, and your semester would begin. So it is a difficult thing, but it's not that difficult. I mean, you face some difficulties in the beginning. Just don't give the exams in the first semester. That's all. Learn take as many subjects as you want. Sit in the lectures, listen to the professors. Even if you are not interested in that field, just go and attend the lecture. You will learn something new. So that is the thing. And whenever people are speaking in a different language, the first perception that comes into human mind is to understand what they are trying to say. So when you do that more and more and more, then yeah, after a while you get accustomed to it. Even if you don't understand the word, just by looking at the sentence structure, you would be able to understand what they are trying to say or what they are trying to convey. So that works out.
Okay. So moving on to the next question, I'd like to ask Priyansh about this. How has the country and the education differed from your expectations when you left India, and what elements of that part has exceeded your expectations?
Yeah, so like what happens is when we are done with our undergrad, we study almost like 68 subjects, including theory and practical, right? So we don't have a clear idea which subject we are going to do masters in. or maybe like what is our area of interest. But then I guess I'll suggest this thing to the final year students. Then when they opt out for their final year project, they should go for the domain which is their area of interest. So it's very easy how to figure it out, because I guess many of them will have an industrial experience going for summer internships or kind of stuff. So when you step into the industry, if you find that element of the industry that is maybe makes you interest in, or maybe uh, makes you think about that this is my area of research or I should go further in this, then that's the topic you should take for the final year project. And for me, it was very confusing, of course. But then after my bachelor's, I did my 6 months of internship with like IIT Bombay, and then I was working on the design and verification of ALU, that's algorithmic logic unit. And I was much fascinated about how the architecture is designed, what is the simulation behind that. And after that, I was looking forward if I can take this knowledge of mine and then do masters, and where can I go. So I was searching around the countries, and I found out that okay, there is Europe, there is USA, Canada, and many other countries like Australia. But then I found out in USA there are colleges, there are universities that have collaboration with the companies. So basically, the university I was studying in, University of Michigan, that has a collaboration with IBM, that is a lithography lab. So which helps in the process of fabrication, right? So what basically helps a student is give them a practical exposure. Of course, other countries and other universities also have that lab, but they don't have the collaboration with the like the institutions or the companies or the big MNCs. So what happens is when you are working with the lab that is collaborated with an MNC or a good organization, they come up with the projects and they give you the chance to work on their projects. So basically, if IBM or any XYZ company is not uh, is not going up to the expectations, or they are finding any scope of research, they come to students and ask if they have anything coming up in their mind, they have any idea. If they ask for the research ideas, and then if any student have that research idea, they fund them. So basically, it's very simple for students in USA and basically few universities in the West Coast also, that they can share their idea and they don't have the issues of funding. So while doing my masters, I did my final year project with Intel Corporation. So that time also they didn't had any I didn't had any issues with the funding. Also, like it's easy to go. It's not very tough when you share their idea. If they find that okay, this is pretty much good and it's going to help their company to grow up, then it's good. So that's what I was never I didn't knew that okay, this is going to be very smooth when I'm going to USA, and then if I have any idea and I'm going to share it with any company, it will be very easy. But it was. So you have to work on ideas, you have to share your ideas, and then you have to find a spot, and you are good.
Thank you, Priyansh. What are your views on this question, Kalpam?
So like for me, it was very much clear that if I choose in going like into core engineering, what I've studied, I would be the worst engineer of this planet. I'm sure. I was that sure that I'll make the worst buildings ever. I can't be an engineer, and that thing I figured out I think in third year of my graduation. But somehow I managed to pass and with good grades in my final year. So that was another story. So I then I decided to switch my career into something in the service industry, where I started my own startup in India. I worked over there for 2 years. It was a great experience. Then eventually, I thought that there is no scope of growth. Like I was stuck up with something, so I thought of going abroad and decided to study after having a business for 2 years. So I had like 2-3 options where like where I can go, but then like looking all the aspects and everything that was good for me, I opted to go to Canada. I came over here, and like it was basically here things are pretty much sorted. Like you have to be stay strong, because you're gonna be all alone, and there is no family. There are so many factors affecting you. Like it's like if you go in any country, there are some factors, but over here it was like the conditions were good. Even we had a good support from everyone, and so I decided to come to Canada. And yeah, things are pretty good. I did my postgrad in supply chain, and right now like I switched my career, but it's going pretty good.
Thank you, Kalpam.
It takes a lot
Ria,
of time for people. It takes a lot of time for people to realize that, if they will continue in a core, I think, they will end up doing, I think it's good that
I
you have realized quite early.
I guess it was
Just
he
on a
was
lighter
helpful
note.
because of Navratna University. He
Yes,
shifted to event planning. He shifted to event planning from civil engineering. That's why he
that was for
realized
sure.
it.
And like Adesh knew everything. Like he was my partner in crime for everything. If in Navratna, so like my like I knew civil engineering was out of my league, out of my box.
Like actually, we both realized at the same time that I realized
Yeah.
event planning is not something I want to do in future, and
Yeah.
I want to do engineering. And he realized I want to do event planning. I don't want to do engineering.
But somehow like even right now I wanted to do something innovative, something good into lifestyle, something into lifestyle, and certainly in few years, coming years, I'll be doing something great in particularly lifestyle sector. So yeah, that's what it is right now.
okay. Next question to Ria. Like diving deep into admissions and application processes now. So, like approximately how many universities should you apply to guarantee your admission into that country?
Okay, so usually how you should go is like based on your scores and everything, and based on your area of interest, you should divide the universities into like safe, moderate, and ambitious. And you should like apply to one or two ambitious, three to four like moderate, and one or two safe. So I think I applied to I think 8 universities and I got like admit from 5 of them. So I think if you divide them and based on your scores and everything, if you plan it out, it works out. So I think, yeah, up to 5 to 6 universities should be good. Yeah.
Okay. How many did you apply to, Adesh? How
I
many
guess
universities?
even I applied to 5 or 6. So I first decided the country where I want to study, and then I saw the universities, and even with my score, I matched it because I guess in Europe, Manal can back me up on this, but I guess in Europe you don't have GRE most of the times. You just have your scores, and SOP basically your statement of purpose plays a bigger role because your scores are just like a threshold that okay, this guy is eligible to be in the university. Now see how motivated he is to be the part of the university. So I guess scores are something which are a threshold here, and yeah, plays a major role. So even I applied to 5 or 6 like that. Maybe 2 in Germany, 3 in Netherlands, and one was a EIT course. So it was like throughout the thing. So yeah.
Manal, do you think work experience or internship played a greater part in securing or strengthening your application, or
No, it
like
doesn't matter.
getting a research opportunity?
No, it doesn't matter actually. Yes, I would agree with Adesh first of all that the first screening, at least in Europe right now, is not computer. People over here, they read your application thoroughly, they see what you have done and what you want to do. So I won't say work experience would play a major role, but your overall profile plays very important role. And yes, SOP is very key, plays a very key role. So yeah, I would come back to my point that if you really want to just pursue engineering without any, like you want to pursue masters without any direction, then please don't choose Europe. Okay, because first of all, you will spend almost 1 or 2 years just by selecting in which field you want to go. If you do not have a clear idea, and then you would have to spend another 2 to 3 years to complete the masters. So if you just want to get out of the country, and if you just want to work over here to earn some good bucks and all, then please don't select Europe. But if you are really interested in research, if you are really interested in the subject, then please choose Europe. Applying in one university would be good enough with a very clear motivation. Mostly, if you have a very clear motivation and your profile is backing up your application, then you get an admission. Because in most of the universities here, they don't have a restricted number of seats. Yes, they have limit, but they don't have restrictions over that. So let's say we have a limit, the university has a limit of 80 students. Okay, then that doesn't mean that they will be enrolling 80 students in that year, or it doesn't even mean that they would be enrolling only 80 students in that year. Okay. So this is the concept over here. If they see that there are 40 very good applications, and then compared to that there are 20 worst applications, then they won't be selecting those 20 students. Obviously, they would be selecting only 40 students. Okay, and they would be going for this. Like, this is the culture. This is the European education culture. So it makes sense. And I would say I think I applied for 3-4 universities. And I didn't wait for the results of the remaining two. I got what I wanted to do in the second round, not round. I think, yeah. In two of the universities I got admission, and I just jumped on the second admission that I got. That's all.
So as Ria mentioned, and even Manal mentioned, that you should apply to at least 5 to 6 universities. So while writing the SOP, do you change the SOP as for the requirements of the university, or you keep the same SOP throughout? How about Priyansh answer this?
Yeah, so basically, if you're targeting one particular country, the main content should be the same, like why you want to go to a particular country to do masters. But then if you of course it should have some little changes. For example, I'm applying for University of Michigan, so you have to show them why you want to go to that particular university. You have to show them, does any faculty interest you, or does any lab facilities interest you? And if you are going for some another university, you should mention that if that research facilities interest you, if that university's faculty interest you. So there should be some little changes, but then of course, if country is changed, the whole SOP has to be changed. So that's what I did. My country was fixed. I was targeting US, so I made little changes, making some different changes regarding with the different universities, mentioning some related facilities related to the research and other faculties that interested me.
Okay. So moving on to the next question, we all know that not everyone is born with a silver spoon, and not everyone is that financially stable.
Shivan, you are muted. Malal, you are also muted.
No, I was
Hello?
just saying that Rivan is muted. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So not everyone is born with a silver spoon. So is it possible for less financially stable students to pursue their career abroad, or is it too big of a risk, or like too big of a debt to go there and study? Kalpam, can you answer this?
Yes, for sure. See, like, going abroad is anyway expensive. Like, it's always expensive for everyone. You take any country, it's going to be expensive than India, but it's worth spending money. Like, if you're going to spend some money investing into your education, or investing yourself, going over there, I believe in few years, like, if you go good, like, with everything, if you go with the good pace and with the correct atmosphere, you will achieve. So you have to manage finance, like we all manage. Like
Yeah.
we are not like our parents don't have such money, extra money, just to like give us and like go and enjoy your life. Like we came here, we also struggled a lot. Like we have like everyone had a struggle, but abroad is good, is always good. Like in terms of lifestyle, in terms of like your thoughts will change, your mental strength will increase, because over here you have so many responsibilities to do, and if you miss a single thing, I know you're gonna get screwed up in coming months. So initially it's difficult for everyone, but once you like spend some time here, you get to used to the culture over here, you're good to go. But I think finance is something that is very much personal, and uh, like if someone is planning to go abroad, they have to manage initially, but they can always earn here. Like here, it's good scope. Like when I came here, initial year fees was done from my family, but the second year fees I paid. I earned from my part-time job. I had savings from my GIC, what we pay the security deposit to come to Canada. So like putting all the money, I paid my second year tuition fees. So even I don't have stress of paying back to loan, like paying back to bank or for my second year fees. So yeah, and now I got a full-time job. So like I'm financially, I can say like I'm not financially stable, but yeah, I'm earning good right now. So initial finance, like it's like capital investment. You're going to invest in your future. So even for every business, it like capital investment is necessary. So like this is gonna be your future. Right? So you have to invest something. So finance, we have to like anyone have to arrange the finance. That's not a
Okay. Dhwani, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, actually, I completely agree with what Kalpam just said right now. But also, like, I do have some friends who went to England or who went to USA. Like, they didn't come to Canada, that's for sure. And one of them had to go back India within 2 years study in UK because he couldn't land a job in few months. I guess there is some legal rules, something that
the issue.
after study you have to land a job in this many, like this much time frame, and he couldn't fulfill that. Neither the USA person, like he couldn't get the H1 visa. I'm not sure about the USA legal either, but there are such experience, or rather the real scenario where you have to come back India, and in such cases, most of the cases, if you have to, I highly doubt if you could get the money that you invested. Like for me, it was 30 lakh rupees when I chose Canada, like Windsor University rather, because it was the cheapest one. So I wanted to make sure that, okay, if I'm going Canada or I'm spending 30 lakhs, I at least want my 30 lakhs back. And also I wanted a freedom, or rather a choice, that if I want to stay that in that country, I should not be forced out within a couple of months, after my study complete. So yes, definitely it takes a lot of your financial management thing. So I would advise student, if you rather study on that also, like apart from studying just your engineering, maybe a little bit search on how to do your personal finance, because back home, till I know, most of us, we don't do any part-time job either. It's mostly pocket money, Papa could say. So it's very different scenario when it comes to your father's money and when you are the one earning it and then spending it. So Kalpam is right. Like in Canada, I have so many friends. I didn't do that. I chose the education loan route. But you can choose the program like diploma or masters in a way that you can, pay for your own second year student fees. Yeah.
Adesh, is this any different
Okay,
in Netherlands?
excuse me, Ravi,
Okay, sir.
I have to leave for a meeting now. May
Okay,
I
sir.
carry on? Huh?
Yes,
Okay.
please, sir. Thank you
So
very much
on
for joining,
behalf,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
sir. Thank
all
you,
of
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. And when you're here physically in India, please do come back. It's your university. And otherwise, stay in touch virtually online.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Next
Thank
year
you
for
so
sure,
much
sir.
once again. Bye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Continuing
Rivan,
Rivan's question, I guess you asked me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I agree with Kalpana and Dhwani. I would say it's Netherlands is equally costly as USA or Canada. And for me, I was lucky enough because my brother basically moved to Germany before me, and he was already earning, so he financed partly my fees, and my dad financed partly my fees. I was in a very lucky zone in that case, but it is very difficult, and you have to manage, and that is why I mentioned in the first place that you have to always see the country you go to see the financial and the social economical status there, so that you don't end up in a scenario where you are sent back. And for me, I was also very lucky in a way that in Netherlands, 98% of the people speak English, so you don't have any language barrier. And for example, in Germany, if you want to work for a company, you need to know German to work or even study German when you're studying. But in Netherlands, honestly, I have never learned professionally Dutch. I just know as they say here, I just know the supermarket Dutch, but I don't know the Dutch which is actually spoken with people. And people are also very, welcoming, because when I landed up a job, they were really happy to have an English speaker, so that everyone in the company is forced to speak in English. So it's a different culture like that, because that's how they see it. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Adesh. Talking about finances, let's go on scholarships. Is it easy to gain scholarships over there, or like, is it as
Rivan,
competitive as it is in India? Yes.
I want to add something in this
Yeah, sure,
whole
sure.
financial situation. We have two sets of people. Like one set would be financially rich. They don't have to worry about the finance, and like even if they go abroad, they don't have to worry about their tuition fee or their student loan, because back of the mind they know that they have money to spend. And another set
Yeah.
is people like us. Uh, we have limited source of money, where we have that hustle to create our own way. And yeah, it's same
That's
for
true.
everyone, I believe. Manal,
No,
like,
yeah, big time.
what's your
Yeah.
point? Yeah, yeah, it's all about hustle. Like if you want to achieve something, if like then everything is gonna be in the right place at proper time. So you have to be patient. You have to uh, just keep on hustling for everything. You're gonna achieve the right thing.
So
Yeah.
even I would like to add something to this. Yes, definitely. You asked for this thing, right? Is it difficult to manage in crisis situation, or some like in the because of the finances? Because yes, less
Yeah.
finance is available. So like I would say 2 points. One is it depends on your mindset. Like it totally depends on your mindset. Not getting a job in India, and that's why coming abroad to do masters is that is not a reason to do masters. Trust me. Okay, you will fail miserably over here. Okay, you will miss India miserably, and you will be regretting your decisions. But fortunately for me, I have like for all my education I had to take loan, and that is very fortunate for me because I understand the importance of money and finance. So because of that, I cannot deviate from my path, because I know if I deviate from my path, then I won't be able to survive. So that is the thing. For even for the like in Germany, we don't have tuition fees. So you have to show very basic minimal amount for your 1 year expense. That's all the money that you need to come to Germany. Okay. So for that also I had to take loan. Okay. So I know coming over here and working. I've been working in burger shops for what in different burger shops for over 2 years. I saved enough money, and then this pandemic started. So everything was lost again. So I have to work again, even along with my thesis, along with my internship. I have to work. There is nothing wrong in that. So
Yeah.
That is the thing.
Even
Uh,
I was working in a pizza shop at least for
yeah,
like I
exactly.
worked for like 1 year. Yeah, I was a
Exactly,
cook
and
over there. I
it's
was making
fun.
pizza.
And yeah, exactly, and it's fun. It's like, there is no shame or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
even fun working over here. You meet different people. Your language will improve. Yeah, definitely for me. So it's fun, and so that's the thing. I mean, yeah, it depends on your mindset basically.
Okay. We
From
have one question incoming. It
Yes,
says,
please.
what are your views on post-graduation diploma and masters over there?
That
Over
I can
where?
answer.
This is,
I think for sure.
yeah,
So
Kalpam.
like post-grad diploma, that's very common in Canada. So I believe like you can do post-grad diploma just in Canada to get your work permit, or I think no other country would offer you that course, or or in a certain manner. But Canada is good. Like you have option of doing postgrad, and you always have option of like making your career into two fields. So you have two options. One is like doing postgrad into one field and continuing with the second year with the same, or you can switch field if like initially when I came, I came here with supply chain in like doing supply chain in my postgrad. So I got a bit interested. I was curious to know more about that. So I my second course was business operation. It was related to supply chain. So Canada Canada is great for postgrad. There are like two career options for you, and like after your education, you can do well in the particular career you want to do, or in particular field.
Does anyone have anything to add to it?
I think Dhoni wanted to add something in the previous question, it seems.
Sorry, what was the question? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I want to add each and every question.
I thought you wanted to.
Thank you.
About probably the finances.
About the finances, yes. About the scholarship, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
So this was something I wanted to tell everyone who wants to at least come to Canada. Do research about the scholarship from back home. I lost big deal amount of a scholarship because I was not aware about that scholarship. So I didn't even apply. So at that time, I believe it was about if you have more than 80% in your bachelor, you will receive some 2K, like about 1 lakh rupees or more. What's it, scholarship? And I didn't know about that. And by the time I came, one of my senior year, he told me, and I tried to apply. But they rejected, saying that you have to do it when you are applying the application itself. And the thing was, like, did my application myself. Like, I didn't go to any agent or anything. So yeah. So whenever you want to do anything on your own, please go on forum or some Facebook, or connect to your alumni in the Windsor or like the university, and do research on that. Yeah, that was it.
Okay, I have a question in Rivan, just a minute, to every one of you. I think see, most of the students, when they go abroad for a study, they choose some, let's say, consultants, right? They go through a consultant. I wanted to know that how easy or difficult it is to, get admission secured in the university, or it is advisable to go through a consultant only. You can.
They will trick you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
of
speak
course.
for Europe.
Please don't go through any consultancy.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is, I have worked before coming to Germany for 3 months. I was teaching German in one of the consultancies, so I know how this consultancy people thug you basically. So this, please, for at least for Germany or European education, don't go for any consultancy. There is no need. You can apply on your own.
Yeah, because I guess the websites are pretty decent.
Yeah,
here.
pretty self-explanatory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can get all the information from university website. The only thing you have to do is write your own SOP. I mean, I think every one of us are capable enough to write one page about yourself. So you don't need consultancy. Please don't go. Don't pay.
Yeah.
And no university over here is going to consider your application more if it's coming from consultancy. It's not the case. No one cares over here how your application comes. It's just and they don't even know that you are coming from a consultancy or something. So they here in Germany, universities don't have tie-up with consultancies. So if whatever consultancy says, they would be luring you by saying that come free education and all this nonsense. But it's free education for everyone. That's the thing. It's not only for people who are coming from consultancy. It's for everyone. So please don't do that, and please don't spend even a single penny for consultancy. Apply on your own.
And in
It's
my
not that difficult.
experience, if you are even stuck at any process of the application, you can simply choose to contact the university directly. They have
Yes.
very good helplines and they have
Yes.
a very good system there. So I don't think so you need a consultant at all.
Yeah, I think the process, like initially, it might be a bit of overwhelming for you when you like apply for first university. But I think once you go through that, the college applications are like for most of the universities are like similar. So once you fill for one university, the rest of the universities like are pretty quick and it's the same thing you have to do again and again. So yeah, it's not necessary to go through any consultant.
Sir, because like if we go to consultancy, they are gonna give us some kind of fairy tale, some kind of Disneyland story, but it's not at all truth. Like it's a harsh place to go. They will fool us. Like I had an
Yes.
experience. I had an experience where I know I was getting fooled, but I was not not having any option at that time, because like at that time we had minimal resources and like minimal amount of friends who knew about foreign education. So we like, but right now I believe the juniors of our college would be having so many friends out in abroad, so they can talk to them, they can gather all the
Yes.
necessary information they wanted. And so like I don't know in other country, but in Canada uh, we have a compulsory subject even in postgrad and masters, that is career management. If we don't attend that subject, we are not going to get passed, and that is so important. And yeah, like during that subject we had a clear vision of what we are going to do next. And they made us write our own resume, a CV, SOP, like whatever it's necessary to make a career. And it will help everyone to decide.
I would like to say something in this. And the thing is, doing like gathering information and applying is the very first battle when you want to go abroad and study. Okay, and if you are going to consultancy, then you are losing the very first battle. Like that's the very simple way to put it. So please don't do that. Work out. I mean, like seriously, it's not that difficult to gather information. Right now we have connectivity throughout the world, and this internet. Use internet for good things, right? Use it to collect information. It's very easy.
Yes, and consultancies are for those people who don't have scores. Like basically, they don't score in the GRE or IELTS or TOEFL, whatever examination they ask for. Or then they have tie-up with the universities or institutions that don't have good ranking. So they just have a simple tie-up. And I know it, of course, like Manal said that he worked for 3 months. Also, I was in contact with one of the consultancies for a month and a half. So they have like tie-ups for like if they send one student, they have $5,000 commission. So
Yes.
that's what they do, right? So basically, just in case a person who is scoring more than 310 in GRE and his score is pretty good, 310, you can get a very good university. But then when he or she goes to a consultancy, then the consultancy might tell him that okay, you apply to this institution, but that institution is not pretty much valuable to what he scored for in GRE. So he could get much better than that. And of course, like after you get done with your GRE, you can apply for 4 institutions for free. So you have to choose accordingly that what institutions you want to go for. And like you have to do some primary research work that, okay, these are the universities that is going to be the part of my master's program.
Thank you. We have one question from the attendees. Can you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question? 2010208.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Am I
Can
audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, after graduation, Like my sister is right now living in Canada, so I want to ask if I work after my graduation in Navrachan University, if I work for 1 year in my field job and then apply for my PR, okay, directly I apply for my PR, and so if I would do that, that will cost me less in the university, right? For the masters, if I have the PR, I have to pay the what we pay like the NRI quota. I don't have to pay there.
Can you please be
So,
concise in your question? So what do you want to ask?
sir,
So
I,
what is
I
more
got this question.
preferable?
What is
Like
preferable? Okay.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
Kalpam or
So
Dhwani can answer.
for like first thing for PR, like if you're like planning to come over here directly on PR, uh, it's tough. Like it's not easy. Like when you
Yes.
read, you feel that okay, this is very easy. If I work in India for like 2 years and then okay, that's all story. It's like nothing true. You can apply, but it's like all your luck because it's kind of a lottery system right now, and they choose from the applicants. It's very much random. And current situation talking about the PR, I don't think like working for 1 year in India and then applying PR you'll get PR because the criteria have been tighter now comparing to the previous year. Previous year it was easy because of the COVID, the points were low, and but right now the situation have changed. So uh, if you think like this way, that okay, if you right now you're coming to Canada and over here, I believe like even fees is not that much expensive than US or the Netherlands or Germany. It's cheaper, and over here opportunity of part-time job is there, so you can earn money. So if you're like thinking of spending your year or two in India and then apply for PR, that's going to be risky for you because even in terms of jobs, Canadian education matters to them. Like yeah, like you can get job coming directly on PR from India, but it's tough. That's what like what I have seen. Like everyone have different view, but I believe that initially you should go to any country for the education uh, rather than their permanent residency or any kind of citizenship.
Yes.
Yes, I completely agree with actually Karpam on that. If you come directly on a PR here and you don't have Canadian education, you are going to end up on working on minimum wage salary here, and which is actually sufficient. You can actually ride Mercedes on your minimum wage salary. But then after that, what? Like, what you gonna do? You're gonna work on a floor for next 10, 15 years maybe. Then you can have a supervisor role, and then you can, but then you will be working in the shift like Canada here there is a culture like shift night day and afternoon, so it's better maybe you spend a little bit more money right now, get some Canadian education. And I guess you have you just said that you have a sister here, right? So my brother is also here after I came, like I'm a PR now, and I my brother is here now, he's studying. So if that's the case with you, maybe ask your sister to search for student line credit. That way you will have way less, what's it, education loan percentage here, hardly 3%. She can get it for you. So that way maybe it will be more feasible for you if you are restraining yourself coming to Canada just because of the financial situation.
And like
Uh,
and plus like if you're like if your sister is PR over here and you come here with like study visa or any kind of such visa, even she can help you in your PR because your blood relation always has, so you can get additional points. But I think
Yes,
that's
it's
only
around 15 points, I guess.
yeah, but I think that's only eligible when you have came to Canada with your with other status than PR.
Okay, okay.
uh, Rivan, you can continue.
Oh,
Or
Amrish,
Amrish sir wants to say something.
good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good morning. Good
Morning,
morning.
sir.
How are you? Sorry, I
Good, sir.
joined
Good,
late.
sir.
I was busy in meeting, so I joined late. I think the student was asking question like this, that if he take the PR and then comes there and then apply for a study, then in that case, does he has to pay lesser fee compared to if you are coming directly? That is probably what the question that student was asking. So is there any fee difference for people coming outside and for the ones who are having PR? That is probably the
Yes, sir.
question.
Yes, sir. Like the fees is pretty much less because then it would be a domestic student fees if like he's
Yes.
already PR. But getting into the PR thing right now is also difficult. Because like I knew like I am having friends in India who have 5 years or 6 years of experience. Still they are struggling to get the right CRA score. What is like needed for Canada, and eventually what happened? They ended up going with the consultancy, and they will fraud you with so much of money for PR also that that you like you'll get tricked. So
Hmm.
rather going on that side of directly getting the PR and coming to Canada, I think you should come on study student visa,
Directly.
because like because it is possible that okay, if you're coming directly on PR, you might not like staying in Canada. You wanted to go back to India. So and like if you choose that, your permanent residency status is gonna gone, because you have to stay minimum for 6 months every year, or
Hmm.
3 months every year to continue your status. So PR is very critical, and it's very much complicated. So like any decision in terms of PR has to be done like very wisely and very carefully, because
And
like that's going to be your future.
And Amrish, I wanted to add to that. I have seen this scenario also where people choose to come here directly on a PR. But the problem with that other thing is kind of you have a mental blockage in a way that you wouldn't want to start studying right after that. You know, you would want to recover the amount you have invested to just to come here. And when you kind of start working immediately, there is very like your chances of coming back to education will be slimmer, and you might end up in the cycle of just being in on the labor job, on the floor job. So unless you have really a good determination about studying here after coming as a PR, I would suggest you better come as a student visa, because all in all, within a 3 years, you will end up with a PR, a good job, and most of your education loan or whatever the money you spend, it will be recovered. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. One more question on behalf of student. Probably students might be having this question or something in in their mind. What do you advise to our present students who are pursuing BTech over here? Doing internships in various company for 1 month or 2 months will help them anyway in getting admissions or getting scholarship there. Any of you can answer.
Uh, I can say from my experience, I actually did internship every year whenever I was studying in Navrachna University. Honestly, it won't help you in case of scholarships or maybe fees or admissions, but it really makes your profile very strong. So that would help you in admission. But it all depends on the quality of internship. So the internship should be also related to what you are planning to do something in your future, and that makes your profile really strong. For example, in my case, I did some internship in the field of robotics that really helped me in my profile, even getting a job here. So in general, it builds up your resume, but it should be something related to your field. And yeah.
All
Thank you.
right. Moving ahead to the next question. Was the decision of post graduation or masters in your country influenced by the job market available over there, or was it solely because of the education or quality of education in that country? Ria, can you answer that?
Yeah. Actually, it works like on both the factors because no one would come here like just to study. That would be like a very rare case scenario. So if you're spending so much money, you would like want to recover that before, like even if you're not planning to stay, you would still want to recover it before you go. So I think it's really important that along with the education, like quality of education, you should research about the job market in which you want to work. So it is a combination of both the things. You can't, I mean, basically just go on one thing, just the quality of education.
Does anyone have anything to add to this? Manal?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just coming over here and studying and going back, that is very big investment, I would say. So you would always obviously be looking for ROI, that is return of investment. So you should research about job market. You should research about the possibilities of the course, like future possibilities of the course for which you are going. And the best way to do is go on the local job market sites, websites, and so see that what jobs are available. And would you like to do this kind of jobs after completion of your education? So do this, and yeah, definitely you should research about the job market.
So adding to this, was permanent residency as well as this job market, was it included in your prospect while you were looking for the countries, or like finding or expecting this to be your goal country? Was PR included in that, getting a PR easily?
For me, I don't think so. Getting a PR is one thing. In Germany, yes, you need German language and all these things. So getting a PR is one thing. But in Germany, it doesn't matter that much if you are working, and if you are working along with your PR, you have to pay almost same amount of tax. So it doesn't matter that much. But so for me, PR was not such a big question, I would say. And I don't think it should be a very big question if you are coming for masters and work. So yeah, but it depends on everyone's perspective, so I cannot comment on that.
Yeah, I think
it's
you can go ahead,
okay.
Adesh.
It's the same thing, I guess, for even me, that PR is something, it's a long shot, because normally in European countries, you have to get PR in 5 years after staying here. So I don't think so I can plan something before 5 years of my life in that first place. So I guess the only restriction I have is, how is the job market? Can I get the job? And here, as Manal mentioned, normally companies sponsor your visa and everything. So it's, even if you don't get a PR, every year they'll be simply just recurring your visa. So it's nothing big you have to do in that case. It's pretty simple after that, honestly.
Yeah, and talking about US, like other countries actually have a term that after 5 years, or maybe Canada after 3 years. In US, we don't even have a term that after how many years you're going to get the PR. So yeah, considering about PR was never an option. But I guess now what they say is like toddlers are out and adults are in. So just thinking of getting some change in the immigration. So let's see.
But does political turbulence jeopardize your PR acceptance rate? Like especially in US, the political turbulence.
That's what I said. The toddlers are out and the adults are in. So just hoping for the best. But yeah, of course, because of Trump policies, last year, like 2020 intake was pretty much low. And of course, the spring 2021 intake was also pretty low. Hoping that from fall 2021, there should be good applications, because many of the universities have, I guess they are not asking for GRE now. So they're just considering the TOEFL and IELTS score. So probably it should be the same till fall 2022, and then they'll be back on the track with asking the GRE again.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it definitely. Oh.
Yeah,
I would
currently,
like to add something. Yeah.
for USA, you don't need GRE.
Oh, you need GRE, but now they don't ask for, because of course they don't have any application. Like
they are losing business.
That's insane.
They're losing. Yeah, they're losing.
Yeah, they are losing business.
That's
So
insane.
obviously they had to reform the rules.
Yeah, I think I would
Riya,
like
you
to
wanted
add
to add.
to Priyansh's point that it definitely affects, like, because last year, because of the whole COVID situation and everything, they, like, during Trump's administration, they changed like certain rules. So that really affects the companies which are hiring. So mostly for like in our field, civil engineering, like if they have federal projects, like they do not prefer international students working on those projects. So they really want like something who is PR or who has like green card holders. They really prefer that. And last year, I mean, job hiring was like pretty tough for like international students. It was not easy to get a job like during this time. So it definitely affects.
All right. This is one interesting question. After your master's, is it possible to open a business or find investors in a foreign country? Or is it difficult, or you need to at least start with work experience and jobs to build
In
capital?
US, yeah, in US it doesn't allow you, like the federal laws doesn't allow you to do anything part time until unless you are a PR or resident, like a resident or a citizen. So you have to be fully committed to your employer, or maybe if you are studying, then to your university. So for US it's not possible. If
For
Ria had
Germany,
something
you
to add
can.
on.
No, I think what you said is correct. Yeah, it's not possible like here until and unless you have a PR to start a business of your own.
In Germany,
How is
you can actually like work and do any kind of business you want along with your studies as well. That is not an issue. But the thing is, you need all the licenses, and to get all the licenses, it's very, very, very expensive. So, but yes, you can do any kind of business or you can work. So that is not an issue.
Yeah.
Because
Even in
obviously
case
you would
of
be paying tax, so these people are happy.
even in case of Netherlands, I guess my college has a big incubation thing, and they normally, if you have a good idea, they pay you the money. The college funds the project from startup point of view. So it's not really difficult. So that's pretty good because then you should be just affiliated to a good university who has a good chunk of money, and they can just help you if you have a good idea. So it's pretty simplified that way.
Is it any different in
Yes.
Canada? Dhwani, Kalpam?
Um, I actually don't have exactly a good idea about this one, but I do know some of the friends. Again, they were student. They worked part time in not about the startup, but like conventional business. So they worked part time in some stores, and after their study, they literally took over the store, and like they currently own petrol pumps. Like they have their business right now going. So I don't know the legality about this, like the rules and regulation, but
Is
I
it?
look it seems possible at least in Canada.
I think see, I tell Nikunj Khadela was I think same batch that of Dhwani. He does his own business and he's into construction business there in Canada.
Yes,
And I
yeah.
think
Nice.
Herschel also.
Um,
Herschel also doing. Is it?
no, Harshil works for one of the company here, manufacturing, and he wants to get in the part of that, like he wants to be a partner there. But I don't think so. He's currently doing any business. But again,
Nikunj is surely doing it.
sorry.
Nikunj is I think doing. I think he's into
Oh yes,
construction.
yes. He's
Yep.
definitely doing after study. Yeah, he started that.
Everyone go ahead.
Manan, you wanted to add something to this? I just interrupted you, so.
No, it's okay. No, even I was saying that in my university as well, I not only in my university, overall in all the states in Germany, they have startup programs. So if you have a very good idea, it's kind of competition, kind of Shark Tanks. So you can go them, pitch them your idea, and they will give you some time. And if they really like, then state will only fund your project. So even that is one of the opportunities.
Okay. So this is the end of the questions that we received. Like now we can open the questions to the attendees. If anyone wants to ask any question, please raise your hand and then unmute yourself and ask.
Okay, I am also attending. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So see, like this for students only. See, when I was in undergrad, I think we all were told that grades doesn't matter and what you know is matter and practical knowledge and this and that, and I agree with as a faculty also I agree with it. It's not, but how was your experience on the basis of like the admission that you have secured in universities? And what is the importance of undergraduation grade in securing admission? And this is for all the students, on behalf of them, like for them I'm asking, those who consider that the undergrad grades or grades at any level doesn't matter at all, what you know is important. I also believe in that, but then what is the importance of undergraduation grade to secure admission? Yeah, please, Manal.
Yeah,
Raise it.
so basically this is the kind of question which means that what is the importance of certificate? Obviously you don't need a certificate to show your skills, but you need certificate to clear any screening. So this is that kind of thing. So just imagine when you are applying abroad, at least people not only from your university or from your state or from your country, not only people from this thing would be applying, people globally would be applying. And the department over here, they have to go through every application, and they would be screening based on something, right? And the best thing or the easiest thing I would say to screen students or filter students is grades. So because this is your grades basically show how much you know. Okay, so that is the thing. Now you didn't achieve a grade, that is a different question altogether. Or you might have knowledge in the field where you have less grades. That is a different point altogether. But for those things, or to explain yourself, you have other supplements such as SOP or your resume or your internships or your projects. So you have all those points, but please don't, ignore your grades. Okay, they are as much important as the knowledge, because otherwise you won't be able to show your skills. I mean, who believes a person who says that I am the smartest in the world? No one believes it, right? So that's the thing.
Yeah, I'll just add to Manal. Basically, what I did was I simply saw the universities from what is their threshold. So normally universities here in Europe have some 75 or 80% as a threshold for grade or your CGPA. So basically, that is exactly what I did during my undergrad. I tried to maintain that average, and I don't care about topping the class. I don't care about where I want to be in the class, but I just want to be past that threshold, because I don't want to be screwed after my undergrad that, hey, shit, what if I had studied better in this semester, I would have passed that grade. So you don't want to revisit that. So it's better to just put a threshold for yourself that I don't want to go below this threshold and just maintain that. Then no one cares about if you are a 9-pointer or a 8-pointer or even a 10-pointer. But if you have just met the threshold, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I completely agree with Adesh. Like many universities, they have like a minimum GPA criteria mentioned on their website. So like when you're searching about universities applying, just make sure you meet the minimum criteria at least.
Yes, Ravi sir. I would like to add to your point. I'm Nirav Patel from Civil Engineering Department, and I know both of my students, Riya as well as Kalpam. So Riya is a gold medalist, and Kalpam, as usual, was an average student, but he was very pretty sure in running here and there. So grades obviously are. I'm not saying it won't be important, but being an educator, I cannot say that don't focus more on grades, but yes, you should keep a threshold as Ades has said, and focus on the parameters which or where you are applying. So some other things are going to add that IELTS score and GRE. So if you maintain them till your third year, this ranking and your CGPAs, then on the final year you can focus on the other exams which are pretty more important at that level. Otherwise, you will run finally to earn that merit, and you won't secure in your IELTS, GRE, and so on.
Yep.
So that is my addition to the point. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Okay. So I have one more question. So see, we have like ranking in India, right? So you know what, college is good, bad. You do all know. Now, say if I specifically ask this question to, let's say, Dhwani, because the only reason, like, there are more students from mechanical engineering who have gone to Canada, and so let's say you studied in a Windsor University, or I think University of Windsor. I don't know exactly. So if you study in a University of Windsor, and if you study, let's say, in a University of Toronto, right, which comes in a top 100 or top 10, so what is the difference you feel, or is there any difference? Now, there's a first phase of question. The second phase of question is that does your university matter when you are searching for a job in a Canada?
All right, so I'll tell you my own story about that. Even though, like, I agree with all what we just discussed right now, but like in my case, I scored 310 plus something in GRE, so which is pretty decent score. TOEFL was 8.5 something, again decent score, and GPA was 8.11 something, so I believe that's also decent. And still I couldn't get admission in Toronto University. They put me on a hold for 3.5 months, and then they couldn't find a supervisor for me because I was inclined in designing engineering in Toronto University specifically. And so yes, in that prospect, I believe that time the mechanical engineering or the designing engineering was very competitive, that I couldn't get even with a decent score. But when it comes to job, sir, I don't believe, at least in Canada, nobody gives a damn about your university, as long as you have some work in the Canadian community. So in my case, I was fortunate enough to start work on a floor in a manufacturing company as a part-time. Once my study finished, I had a really good rapport with the company, like the supervisor and everyone. So they knew my work ethics. For 2 years, they saw me how I worked, and I cracked some interviews and some normal thing, and I landed a job. And overall, after 2.5 years in a field, I can safely say it doesn't matter at the end which university you are from, as long as you have that skill set for your job. Like when person or boss is coming to talk to you, he's not gonna consider if you are from when the Toronto or Cornell University, or simple as Windsor University. They are going to look for your skill set. So whenever you come to at least to Canada, at least try to mingle with the culture here, like different people. Do not have a cocoon of having Indian community besides you, because I have seen that especially in Canada, people come here in a group. I would say, like, literally 10-15 जन साथ में आ जाते हैं. So don't do that. Don't come here just because your friend is coming here or you have some relative. Don't seek comfort in this refuge, I would say. So yeah, it wouldn't matter as long as you're good. Yeah.
I guess as I add from my point of view, university really matters in Netherlands at least, because there are applied science university and technical universities. I guess it's the same thing in Germany, and normally,
Yes.
yeah, and normally I guess technical universities have a better respect than applied science university in some extent. So for instance, in my case, I'm from TU Eindhoven, and they call it the second best university in Netherlands. And when I apply for a job, I normally tend to skip a technical round. They just see if I'm interested, if I like the job, they are interested in me, and that's all we do. And I'm secure the job. And this is the case for all of my friends who are from TU Eindhoven, because they don't see the companies don't see a point of actually giving, unless the job is very specific, they really don't care about their technical skills, because they know if they are from this university, their technical skills are pretty good. So that's how it works, at least in Netherlands. I don't know how it is in Germany.
Yeah, so the thing is, yes, in Germany as well, there are two kinds of universities. One is TU, that is Technische Universität, that is technical university. And second is Hochschule, that is University of Applied Sciences. So yes, see, the thing is, University of Applied Sciences is like what we have in India. We don't, I'm really sorry, but we don't have TUs in India. We don't have research-based universities in India, and that is the biggest flaw in our education system. That's there. But University of Applied Sciences over here, that is similar to what we have in India. They would be preparing you for industrial life, and they would be preparing you for applications, applied sciences basically. And TU, they are much more focused on research and development basically. And but in Germany we don't have rankings as such. Yes, there are good, like very many sites where they publish rankings for German universities, but that is not the case. Like when I was applying, people were in awe of this TU9 universities in Germany.
Yeah.
Like there is one site called CHE Rankings, which publish which have the list of the top 9 universities in Germany, which is utter bullshit. Okay, my university has biggest funding right now in 5G project than any other university in Germany. So that is not the case. In Germany there is no ranking, so don't go for any ranking. That CHE ranking which DART publishes every year, that is just for one base or one lookout for the students. That's all. There is no such things as ranking over here. So you can apply just like when applying for Germany, just the very first priority should be your course or your interest. And that should, I would say, not only the first, that should be the only criteria for applying to Germany or applying to a particular university or particular course. So do that. Don't go for at least for Germany, don't go for any kind of rankings. There are no rankings. Every university is good enough. It depends, like everything depends on you, how much effort you are giving while studying or while doing the course over here, because no one will be guiding you, or no one would be taking your hand and guiding you that you should do this or you should do this, then you will become this. No one is going to do that. When you come over here, you will have to decide your own destiny basically. You will have to be on the driver's seat. You will have to decide what you want to study, how much time you want to take to study that, and how much you can give to that field. That's all.
And in USA, the market is pretty much distributed. Like if you are into semiconductor industry, it's Silicon Valley is open for you, the West Coast. And if you are into like electrical maintenance and manufacturing, it's Albany, New York. Pretty much like it's same for some other disciplines, that civil and everything is distributed. If not, you don't come into that criteria, or maybe like if you don't secure job into that area, then it depends on the universities that you have tie up with, or maybe it all depends on the alumni. So as good as alumni connect is there with the university, you get good jobs, because reference is a major role that plays here when you are applying for the job. And if not, then universities also apply for they also organize some career fairs, and if you opt out for that, and if you go there, you get CPT, that is that you get 6 months of internship, 1 year of internship after your master's, and then you can convert that into OPT, that is 36 months of operational training. Ria, if you would like to, because she just got placed, so she would have a good experience.
I think what Priyansh said is like correct, because at one point university helps, because like every year they have like career fair twice a year. So you have a chance to interact with the employer or someone from that company directly. So instead of like if you are applying online, then you don't get like personally to speak with that person. You just submit your resume and they just look at it. But if you go to career fairs, like you can interact with them, they'll talk with you. And so the chances are more, I would say. So I think at some point universities do matter, because
Thank you. I have a question from an attendee. He's saying, is UK an ideal choice for studying computer science? Because he's seeing nobody's from UK over here. So is it an ideal choice for studying computer science or not? That's his question.
I would say there is no ideal place to study some field. It depends really on the research you want to do or the field you want to study. So for example, if you talk about computer science, what do you want to study in computer science? Do you want to study something from data science point of view, or do you want to study something from computer vision point of view, machine learning, AI? So there are so many things. It's a broad question, And honestly, as you see the world right now, everybody is researching in that domain. So there is no ideal country about that. But I would say if he
Yes.
wants to think about UK and why we are not in UK because of the harsh rules there. And it's basically, if I'm not wrong, you have to get placed in within 3 months of time after you
Yes.
graduate. And that is
Yes.
pretty harsh because
Yes.
you at least, honestly, if in my case particularly, I completed my graduation. I really don't want to do anything in my life for at least a 1 month or 1.5 month because I'm just done with my thesis. I really can't work now. It's not my state of mind to work. And in that moment, they are saying to get a job in 3 months. It's actually not possible. So I think that's why people don't prefer to go to UK. And as far as I know, I have friends in UK. They normally have family businesses in India. They study in UK, they get the knowledge, and they just go back to India. I guess we had a alumni from BBA. He did the same thing, Vikram Khera. He did
Vikram.
the same thing. Yeah, he just went there, studied there, and he just came back to his transport business in India. So, and he's in Vadodara right now. So basically, that's what the people in UK do. So I don't see there is an ideal place to do computer science. Even US is good, Canada is good, even Europe is good because everybody's researching in that domain.
Actually, computer science is a kind of field that gets very much, dependent when you are doing your masters, especially. Yeah, when you are doing like when you are in bachelor's, it's very much open-sided field. But when you are doing your masters, then you would be going to in a very particular direction. So I would rather suggest to fix like I would rather suggest you to fix your field first, in which you are interested, and then decide for the universities, then decide for the countries that you want to study, because the best place to study computer science is in front of your computer, basically. So remaining or every other thing is just based on opportunities. So
Yeah,
and
he
you
can
will get
actually
opportunities almost everywhere.
yeah, he can actually study on Coursera if he wants to study.
Yeah, exactly. To go
Yeah.
Coursera, Udemy, go all these things. I mean, even today when we want to learn something, we don't go to a professor. He will kick us out. We learn those things online itself. So first decide your field, I would say.
The like open question for the attendees. Anyone can ask if they want.
Hi, this is Deep Shah from BTech Civil 8th semester. So my question is regarding civil industry. So I am planning for construction project management courses in Canada. So can you guide me through that? Like how is the scope and what all things should be kept in mind while studying, and which university should I select and all?
I guess Kalpam can answer your question.
Yeah.
Because he's from civil.
I don't know anything about civil engineering. Don't ask me anything about civil engineering.
Priyansh, if you can please add it.
मेरे को मत पूछो, मैं गलत एडवाइस दे दूंगा उससे अच्छा ये like talk to your friend who are there over here.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot really like guide you about the universities in Canada, but I think yeah, project management and construction management have a like decent amount of scope, and I think I don't know about like jobs in Canada, but in US you could like if you study project management or construction management, you have decent scope here. Yeah.
Okay. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Do we have any other one who wants to ask a question?
Wanted to know terms regarding MBA. Which country is good for it?
UK.
Was not.
UK, yes, UK.
Bro, you are asking engineering students about MBA. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
No,
Like all of us are more.
if anyone
Yeah, I
wants
guess
to
Kalpam
pursue
can.
MBA, then go to UK. Then go to UK.
Yeah, but
UK
I
is
guess
best place.
India, honestly, in my opinion, India has decent MBA universities. You can
So
simply think
Yeah,
about
actually,
so
that's
for
true.
MBA,
That's true.
okay, if MBA, I'm giving you one person. You can talk to Vaidya Iyer. He's our senior. For MBA, he have the best knowledge.
Yeah, he's the guy who shifted from electrical to MBA, so I guess he's the best person.
And
And he even did it
and
from
right now,
Mica. So.
and right now he's working in one of the biggest, I think, e-commerce company, that is Target.
Yeah.
Target, yeah.
See, I think what I feel is that a technical the management education abroad is what I can say, it's very costly in a comparison of technical education, right? And usually MBA, people pursue MBA especially abroad after work ex of at least 2 to 3 years, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Even master work experience of 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So
because I guess here MBA you need 3 years of experience to get into a
Yeah.
decent university
True.
before you can apply. And honestly, I would not recommend you Europe. To some extent, you can think about Netherlands because they are still English speaking. But if you end up doing MBA in Germany, you have to know German properly. You really can't do
for
marketing
sure.
without knowing German. So
For sure.
yeah. So if you want to do MBA in Europe, then I guess Netherlands is one option, or even the Scandinavian countries, Finland, Norway, Sweden. They all speak English to some extent. So yeah, that could be an option. But even here, I've seen normally in MBA, you need to know some Dutch because you really can't put taglines in English. You're gonna attract people in Dutch, and for putting those punchlines and taglines, you need to have a native language barrier. Like we are learning from a point of view of conversation. You cannot make punchlines in a language because without knowing going in depth of the knowledge. So
true.
Yeah.
And consider whatever country you want, but don't consider US for MBA. That's for sure. It's going to cost you 75,000 USD, plus you just have 1 year to secure a H1 and get it done. So because you don't come under STEM extension, so don't consider US for MBA.
Sir.
Yes, Kalpam,
sir, I'm like I'll take leave because I'm at work right now, and like I had got some urgent work. So yeah, all the best everyone. Like for planning to come abroad, and if anyone want any other information for Canada, you can always contact me. You can ask my number from Ravi sir, and yeah, I'm always there to help anyone.
Sure. Kalpam, thanks a lot for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for
Bye, guys.
staying up late.
Bye.
Bye.
And is there anyone who have any question?
Sir, I'm Anand Parmar here.
Yes, please, Anand.
I'm from mechanical final year 8th semester. My question is that is there any scope for a student who has average CGPA? For example, 6.14 or
You're asking for yourself, right? Or you're asking for your friend?
Yes, sir, yes. Myself. Yes.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, please, if any one of you can answer this.
Hi, Anand. At least for 6.5, I have again so many friends. I'm from mechanical, so Adi Janta 6-pointer. They are here in Canada, so yeah, please apply for Canada. You can go for college and PG diploma easily. Don't go for a master because you will need a higher CGPA to get into at least a decent university here. So go for post graduation, like the diploma course, and you can get skilled trade skills. And actually, it will be easier to land a job if you are into skilled trade than you have done a master's. So yeah, there is a huge scope. Yeah.
Anyone
I
else?
would like to add something. So for Germany, see man, like you will have to work hard one way or the other. You didn't work in bachelor's, so you will have to work in masters if you want to pursue masters from Germany with that CGPA. So you can apply for German courses. You might get admission in German courses in Hochschulen especially. TU's chances are really less, but you can apply. You can check, like you can try your luck. But to get English courses or partial courses with this CGPA, it's a bit difficult, I would say.
Okay, so is there anyone who has any other question to ask? No. Okay, so I think last thing I want from all of you is that before we conclude the session, I just want you to give a small message to our current students. All of you, very concise, a small message if you can please deliver to our students.
We can start from Dhwani.
All
He looks
right.
eager.
She's like, please let me be last.
No, actually, she's feeling sleepy. I think
Yes.
because
Yeah, she should go
must
first.
be 2:30 at night there. That's right.
Yeah, it's 3:20. Yeah. All right. Okay. So what I learned from my experience at Navrachna at very mediocre university in Canada, that is Windsor University, and working in mechanical and now in switching to project management, the one thing that keeps you going forward is keep learning. Just keep learning. Don't stop there. Like for me right now, let's say 15 years ago, nobody thought that MS Office going to be very essential basic skill that you should have. I see machine learning, or at least a kind of any kind of programming. It can be in data science language, Python, or anything. It's upcoming basic language. So do keep your mind open and maybe start working on them. And you should be good as long as you are learning anything. So yeah. And again, thank you, sir, Ravi sir, Amrish sir. I believe we have Hiral ma'am here. She was
Yeah,
here.
I would like to talk to Hiral ma'am as well. Like, I mean, I don't know if she can join us
Yeah,
or
yeah,
not, but
yeah. I'm here only. How are you
yeah, hi
guys?
ma'am.
So
Good,
happy
good,
to
good.
see all of you here. Feeling so proud that you guys are here on this platform and sharing no your experience with your juniors. I'm so happy. And no, as a faculty, I'm always telling that the first year and the second year batch is always very close to the faculty members. So so it is so good to see all of you guys here. And do come to the university. It's your own university. Do come to your own
Oh,
department,
definitely.
right? Whenever you are coming to Vadodara. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, Riva.
So if anyone
Uh,
can, Adesh, if you
Word of
can.
advice,
Yeah.
Manan or Adesh.
Yeah.
Okay. Manal, you can go.
Yeah, so word of advice actually, uh, I would honestly suggest give India a try. It's not so bad in our country as well. Like study there, you can study there. That's not an issue. But and yes, obviously, just leaving the country just for because you're not getting a job or because you're not getting an opportunity is not an answer. So please don't do that. If you are really interested in research, then please come abroad, because I know we don't have that good opportunities in for research in India. So please do that. You can apply, you can come to universities, you can explore culture over here, you can explore people over here. So you like that should be the motivation to apply or to go abroad, not because you are not getting a job or something like that. So that's there, and always be, what do we say? Always keep exploring. I mean, you should not stop. You should not. You should always learn, as Vani said. So yes, that's all I would say. And yes, for all the engineers, you should know one programming language like you know your own mother tongue. So any one programming language, just go for,
Very
and
well
like
said,
it's
Manal. Very well
almost
said.
similar. All the programming languages are same. And it's not.
Yes.
I guess we've lost
I guess we
connection
lost
Yeah.
his
Awesome.
voice.
Uh, Adesh, if you can carry forward to that.
Oh, yeah. So I would like to say that it is very overwhelming, the application procedure and everything. And honestly, it is difficult. It is not going to be easy in any ways, and it is something that is going to be very culturally different, because you are always in a nutshell in India, surrounded by your parents, nurtured by your parents, and when you come abroad, you are always going to be on your own. You have to manage your finances, your taxes, and whatnot. So it's not going to be easy. Your studies are going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You have a cultural shock, I would say, because it would be different. But any which ways, you're always coming out of India because you want a better life. So I guess you have to put some efforts here and there, and that's how it's gonna be like. So I would say it's a good experience and you should really go for it, because the exposure you get it has no measure to or no relation to that struggles you're going through, because you open your brain, you ask more questions, you ask more whys, you get more into the whole scenario of abroad education, and that is really good. And I would say you go from doing something for the sake of doing it to loving something what you love in the whole process. So that's really overwhelming, and I would really thank all my faculties, even Ravi sir, and I see Harsha ma'am, I see Hetal ma'am, I see Shweta ma'am on the call. Really thankful to all of them, because this whole thought process is a basically not something I get in a dream or overnight. It's a process you go. As I was even mentioning before, that in the third year, Kalpam was the guy who decided that engineering is not for me. And I was with him at that point of time, and I decided engineering is for me. So it's a whole chain of events which get us where we are right now. And you obviously learn from them and get better in life over the time. So that's how all I want to say.
Thank you, Adesh. Manal, you want to finish what you were saying? We lost connection.
Yeah, so sorry, my headphones got disconnected somehow. But yeah, like that's what I was saying. Just learn any one of the coding languages. That is really, really important, because see, the thing is, from like we moved from bookish education to an media, like computer education basically. And the language of computer is coding. So you should know it, and it's actually beautiful once you understand it thoroughly. Then it's actually very peaceful thing. Coding is kind of meditation now.
I
Like,
agree.
getting that from a mechanical student is a big deal.
Bro, it's not about mechanical anymore. Like it's honestly
I
when
know.
you are working, when you are working. See, anyways, you have to work in work with the systems now, because those days are gone when where you can chop your own wood. I mean, today robots chop your own wood. So you have to program them, and to make them understand what you want them to understand, it's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
So we should know the language.
Also, I would like to add to Manal's point that of course, programming language is important, but also get hands on the tools. That is like basically if you're in from mechanical, you should know SolidWorks, MATLAB. From electrical, you should know Vivado or Nucleus RTOS, or maybe power engineering, some tools. MATLAB is also one of them. So programming language plus tools will make you something different. And it opens a wide area for you, for research also, and for work opportunities both. So it's like never ending learning process. So we have heard that 10મું પતી ગયું, હવે પછી નથી જ વાંચવાનું, 12મું પતી પતી ગયું, નથી વાંચવાનું. It's not that. So it's a never ending learning process. And thank you so much. We like Adesh thanked Harsha ma'am and Shweta ma'am, Hiral ma'am, but I think Jyoti ma'am is not here with us, but she was also one of our faculties. And
even Ketan sir.
Ketan sir, Ketan sir,
Sneha ma'am,
I think
all of
Ketan
them.
sir is here. Sneha ma'am,
Okay.
The whole family. Even Rohit sir, maybe.
Any word of advice?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Adesh's point. Like, it's altogether different experience. It really like makes you independent. Like what life you had in India, you like really learn to do things on your own, and you can't just rely on your parents anymore and everything. And plus, the cultural diversity also is like really good. You get to meet like different kinds of people that really like expand your horizon. So I would say, on a positive note, like don't self-reject yourself. If you are stuck at some point, please reach out to people. You can contact like any one of us on LinkedIn. We can help you. But please try, and it's a great experience.
Yeah, we might reply late as compared to consultancies, but we will definitely try to advise the best.
We'll reply in a realistic way.
Yeah,
Not in a dream
we'll
world.
at least like tell you the correct picture.
Yeah.
And I would also like to thank like all of my faculties like who have motivated and encouraged like us. I think Neerav sir, Rahul sir, and I don't know if Monica ma'am and is on the call, and like everyone who has helped. Yeah. And thank you, Ravi sir, for organizing this and giving us the opportunity to share.
So, to conclude, I extend a heartfelt gratitude and thank you from the whole Navrashna fraternity for taking out time, waking up early or staying up late, and helping us out with all our doubts and questions. We look forward to having more such interactions with you guys. Thank you.
Rivan, एक minute ठहरो. You have
Yes,
concluded
sir.
the session, but the session cannot be over without Ravi sir Sairi. Guys, what you say?
And
Ravi sir,
also,
Yes, sir.
also there,
go for it, sir.
I guess, sir, I
The
guess it was your
alumni
wedding
is
anniversary yesterday.
demanding that you now you cannot deny this. You have to.
Yes, sir. Obviously, we need that.
क्लासरूम याद आ गई हमारे तो.
Yes.
Okay, so see, guys, it's there are a few things that I want to share with you. The મરીઝનો એક શેર છે કે બધો આધાર છે એના જતી વેળાના જોવા પર, બધો આધાર છે એના જતી વેળાના જોવા પર, મિલનમાંથી નથી મળતા મોહબ્બતના પુરાવાઓ. हम जिस तरीके से अभी मिले थे उससे मैं ये बयान नहीं कर सकता कि मैं आपसे कितना प्यार करता हूँ, लेकिन डेफिनेटली जब हम बिछड़ेंगे तब आप मेरी आंखों में देखना, आपको पता चलेगा. वी हैव अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ लव फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू एंड आपने जिस तरीके से ये सेशन को डिलीवर किया है, हम लोग फर्स्ट टाइम पैनल डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं और आई वाज नॉट नोइंग दैट हाउ इट विल टर्न अप एक्चुअली. But the way it has turned up, I have received messages. Even Prost sir has also, texted me that, Ravi, it is excellent session which is going on. So our, respect for you has, only grown. और ये odd time के ऊपर आप लोगों ने हमारी request को पहले तो accept किया और फिर, you are staying up, till late in night. Extremely, only thank, I can't thank you enough. So thanks a lot. And towards the end, I can say that, सितारों को आंखों में महफूज रखना, बहुत दूर तक रात ही रात होगी, मुसाफिर हो तुम भी, मुसाफिर है हम भी, किसी मोड़ पर फिर मुलाकात होगी. Lots of love.
वाह सर वाह.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And just wait. You just can't hang on like this. Okay. May I have Rahul sir, Neerav sir, Monica madam.
You all will come. एक second.
All of them will come here. Hiral madam, તમે આવી જાઓ. હર્ષા madam આવી જાઓ. બીજા કોઈ બહારથી હોય, પેલા એ લોકોને બી બોલાવ્યો ને, હાઉસકીપિંગ વાળા બધા હોય તો.
અરે
Very happy to see all of them. Amrish sir, if you can please come to the staff
યાદ
room.
આવે છે અહીંયા આગળ.
Amrish sir, if you can please come from, I think it will be difficult. If you can. So
let me log in through my mobile.
in this limited, vision.
Hello, ma'am.
नहीं संभला तुम्हारा. All of them want to see you, and you will be very happy to see all of them. We miss you a lot.
Of course, we miss and you too.
Oh, we miss it big time.
Yeah.
अरे सखत. Hello.
Hello, Mr.
Ketan sir there?
Adil,
No, Ketan
Adil sir is not there.
No, Adil sir is, I think, upstairs. He's on a 4th floor.
Okay.
Ketan sir is on a 1st floor.
Ketan sir.
Hiral
Amrish
ma'am,
sir also, yeah. Fun यार, fun days,
So all
fun
of
days.
us are
4
very
बरस
happy
तो
to
क्या
see.
निकली जाना.
thank you.
Correct. Okay, so guys, thank you very much.
अरे क्या रे fun sir.
And we
Our
are
pleasure.
we have recorded this session. And so we want to upload this after what I can say, after some editing. We will be uploading this on YouTube, so you can share that link with your friends. And one more thing, see, after graduation from Navrachna, when you did masters and you are working right now, so you must have learned something new, right? And if you feel that you want to share your learning with our current students, there are two ways which we can do this. Last Saturday we had Hariom Singh Bhati delivering a session on electric vehicles. it's similarly, I would request all of you, we will invite all of you to deliver a session like that. Now, timings are also odd. So, if at all you decide that you don't want to go live and you want to record it, let's say a 10-minute, 15-minute session. So just record yourself and, just send it to us. We will just edit the video and then we'll put it on the YouTube channel of Navrachna University, right? So, we can call it as, learn from your seniors, and for you guys, teach your juniors. That can be the, thing. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for all that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.